riding down Highway 61. Sides of the roads all lined with fields, nothing but sunset in the windshield. Feel it as soon as I ride into town. This is where I go to slow down. Miles and miles of soybeans and corn. I'm in the place where the blues was born. About a mile from the big muddy river, place I'll always remember. Cabin on the lake and a fishing pole. Forever here I'll rest my soul. I can feel my worries drift away from being out in the sun all day. No matter where in the world I go, I'll always find home on the banks of that oxbow.
What's up, guys? Brad Chappell back with you at the Spring Grizzly Show 2025. Frank, do introduce yourself, and then I'm going to talk about you for a second.
Yeah, I'm Frank Haidusek, currently reside in Kansas. Guide tournament fish, do social media for crappie fishing.
Yeah.
I found this on the web.
Uh-oh. That was a phone there, but go ahead and do your introduction as well, Kris.
Okay, Kris Mann, tournament fisherman, pro staff manager for Crappie Magnet and also for Mossback Fish Habitat.
You know, and both these guys have fished a lot of tournaments and been really successful at doing it over the last couple of years. And this question for myself gets asked all the time, and I'm sure the same gets question asked for you guys as well. But I want to talk about scents. Do crappie fishing scents work? Make a difference? And I'm, like I said, we're going to talk about some stories, because I've got some stories when I've added scent that I thought it really made a difference. But we'll kick it off, Frank. Even like I said, I'm going to say something about Frank real quick. Frank's been on my hit list to get on the podcast here for 5 to 6 years now. And I finally achieved it. It's kind of like hitting the 10-point buck. I finally got him on. Finally got him. So thanks, Frank.
Yeah, no, thanks for inviting me. But, yeah, I mean, obviously I think scent works. I mean, I would say, I don't know, 80% of the baits that are sold have some kind of scent in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at bass, they put salt, they put garlic, they put shad. So, you know, I mean, obviously scent should work. I mean, you know, you get out there and then some anglers are like, well, I couldn't catch them on plastic, but I caught them on a minnow.
Mm-hmm.
They caught them on dead minnows that weren't moving. Looks just like plastic. So what was the denominator? Well, it was probably the scent from the minnow.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think scent works. Do you need it all the time? Probably not.
Right.
But if it's a tough bite and you know you're having trouble catching fish, I think either scent in your bait or you know adding an extra scent something will help out, like a bait ball or you know something like that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some stories because I know everybody's got fishing stories and I love hearing about them. But Kris, kind of give your thoughts on scent.
Yeah. Well, when you first approached me out here and you asked about scents, I thought you meant SENSE, and I was like, I have no sense. So,
I don't pronounce stuff very well.
I don't know if I'm the right guy to be in here or not, but
Whatever.
no, scent, absolutely, I think it makes a difference. And you know, over the years, I've always said this is kind of my moniker with it, is just saying it doesn't hurt.
Right.
I've never seen a time that I felt like when I added scent to my lure that it knocked me out of catching a fish. So, but I have seen many, many times throughout my fishing career that it's made all the difference.
You know, and I think there's so many different kinds out there, and they're developing new scents and ways to apply them more and more every day. And it goes back to a lot of bass fishermen really believed in scent, and there's still a lot of crappie fishermen that either they believe in it totally or they don't believe in it at all. And I'm one of those guys. I'm like Kris. I'm like, I'm gonna put it on the hook, especially like you said, a tough kind of lethargic bite. And even if they're kind of nipping at a bait, and I'm like, all right, I ain't got them sold. Let's add some scent, see if that kind of seals the deal with these fish. But, and I want to talk about some stories. I've got one that pops in my mind, and you typically think of scent being used whenever a bait's really stationary. But I've used scent even as far as crankbaits.
Yep.
You know, and you think, well, why would you put scent on a crankbait? And it's just the same reason why I would put it on a jig, is just to seal the deal and make that fish totally convinced to strike it and inhale it. But I want to hear if you got any different stories and that stick out in your mind that you thought scent was the difference in your day. Could have been a tournament. It could have been fishing with your child. I think we all have those stories, and I think they really build confidence in anglers whenever they have those bad days to go ahead and try scent instead of going home and saying, the fish didn't bite today. Well, did you try scent? Well, no, I've heard some guys say it don't really matter. Everything matters in crappie fishing, and that's kind of my thought. Everything matters, from profile to size to action. Everything matters. And if once you get in your mind it don't matter, well, it's probably not going to matter because you ain't going to catch them.
Yeah.
But do you have any stories in mind? I love stories, fishing stories.
Yeah, I guess the story that sticks out for me would be last year at National Crappie League at Eufaula. It was kind of one of those bites that was, one fish would come up and just inhale it, and another one would just turn away from it. So I signed on with Easy Drift Trolling Systems, and they come out with these reaction bait balls. Mm-hmm. And they had the bait pins for a while. Yeah. For crappie nibbles, for, what
slab
are those?
bites?
Slab bites, yeah.
Yeah, slab bites that you could put in there and make it easier for people to get them on the hook, not get stuff all over your fingers. Well, Brad ended up coming up with a plastic version with scent infused into it, and I used it. I remember I used it at Eufaula that time, and day one I didn't use them as much, and then day two I started tipping my jigs with them, and minnows, and I jumped from 5th to 3rd place, and I had second big fish. And what stuck out to me is when I was getting my fish out of the live well, I had 2 of these bait balls floating in the live well that the fish had spit out. So they ripped it off, kept it in their mouth, and realistically, scientifically, I don't know if it helped.
Yeah, what does?
But it helped my middle positive attitude, and that's 99% of the key. Like everybody says, usually colors catches fishermen before they catch the fish. So, if you're positive in what you're using, and, if you're having a bad day and you put a nibble on, no matter whose brand it is, and it works, then that's going to help you mentally, and you're going to, I think, try harder and try different stuff without giving up and say, well, they're just not biting no matter what.
That's the easiest way to do it, is just say they're not biting and leave.
Yeah. Anybody can say that. Take a picture of the sunset, post on Facebook. And
I do have some pretty sunset pictures.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I've taken them before, too. I'll say this, and I don't want it to be a cop-out, but I literally, for so many years, have used scent on every single drop when it comes to, applying what I call maybe a bite enhancer, to your bait or whatever, to the point that it's difficult for me to just pull out one example because I'm always using it. So I think probably the easiest explanation I have for that is just looking over the years at the times we've been blessed to have success in tournaments, and we've consistently been able to compete in a lot of different tournaments all over the country, and I use it. So I've always I've got in my mind that's been part of the success, one of the parts of the recipe for success, and so much so to the point that if someone took that away from me today, it would almost be like taking minnows away from a minnow fisherman.
Right.
You know, like I know I could catch some fish, but I would really lose kind of that confident edge. And I think that scent really helps me to.
Do you have a
that.
particular bite that you can say that I tried it pre-fishing and I didn't add scent, or something that really triggers you to say, this day scent was that extra piece of the puzzle that really made everything fit and shine?
Yeah, I really do have one example that I think made all the difference in the world. So a few years back, my dad and I fished the Crappie, Kentucky Crappie Trail had their state championship in Kentucky on Taylorsville Lake, and my dad and I located some fish in some really gnarly, thick structure, and the fish were right on the bottom. And this is live scope really hadn't been out all that long. We really weren't super comfortable with live scope, but yet we had it on. And I was able to look down in those piles, and on occasion I could see a big fish rise up out of that pile, or I could see it, you know, nose under some of that stuff. Yeah. And that was a day that the dead stick bite, I mean, you had to dead stick it. They didn't want to see any movement on that lure at all. And we would take that jig and just soak it down there with that scent on it. And what I loved about that tournament so much, I mean, we ended up catching kind of a record bag for that at that time,
yeah.
You know, on that lake in a tournament. And when those fish would bite that jig, they would absolutely hammer it. I'm talking hammer it. You'd be sitting there dead still. All of a sudden, one of them would come out from under there, and it's like it got a whiff of that stuff, and it had to have it. It killed it. So probably example that I felt very confident that the scent made all the difference there.
You know, and I've got a fishing story as well that I recall. Actually two, but I'll stick to one. Is we fished a tournament on Ross Barnett, and we were long lining jigs and had really good fish pre-fishing. Everybody has terrific pre-fishing days a lot, and I just had a terrific pre-fishing day the day before, and thought I had a really good pattern going. And next day we get out there, and you know, we're not catching the quality fish we did the day before, or maybe even a couple of days before, what have you. But about 12 o'clock, it was like one of those Hail Mary throws. I was like, you know, let's add some nibblets to these long lining jigs. And I mean, I'm pulling them 1.2, so it's not like a slow presentation at all. Put it on one jig, and I didn't put them all on 8 because I was just time factor. So I put them on a couple of them real quick, like. And then all of a sudden we started catching those bigger frame fish. Yeah. And I was like, and of course I couldn't see it, but it showed me by the differences of, you know, these poles were catching fish that had the scent added to them. And then all of a sudden the ones that didn't, we wasn't catching as many fish or the quality as we were on the scented baits. Yep.
Yeah.
And we're like, man, why didn't we try this like at 8 o'clock this morning? We tried it, and we caught the big fish of the tournament time off of that scent in the last 2 hours of the tournament. But, you know, you look back of tournament fishing, and at least for me, I have a lot of those tournament memories that if I was like, if I would have just done that earlier in the day,
yep,
we would have probably walked away with it.
Yeah.
But it goes by even, you know, when I'm guiding now, if I put any kind of scent onto a bait and we catch one with a client, my clients are going to make sure. It's kind of funny sometimes. I'll kind of play with them and be like, "Oh, that's the last one," and people they're like, "Oh, we ain't catching no more fish now."
Yeah, made a believer out of them.
You know, you can make it's some of those days that click in your mind that give you confidence that it made a difference that day. I wasn't trying it beforehand, and you know, can I sit here and say without a shadow of a doubt, it might have been that time of day that those fish turned on. But it goes back to what Frank said. It was that confidence level to me. All of a sudden, we started getting bites off of the ones I added scent to. So my confidence level jumped up really quick. Like, it's like, all right, let's put the other ones on there. And it could have been the confidence for sure. It could have been the scent. Yeah. But it gave me enough confidence to dig down, compete hard, add scent, and do everything that I could to catch more fish. And that one strikes out. And then I got one about crankbaits. And you never think about crankbaits as a bait that you could add scent to. or why you would add scent. But it's the same thing. Slab Jam here, it's a product that's it's a paste, like it's a gel that I would put it on the bill of the crankbait. I would just saturate it down. And I had days that, all right, let's run this side of the boat with scent, and the scent crankbaits would catch more. Can I say 100%? But it gave me enough confidence by what the fish showed that it did make the difference.
Yeah.
And I think of Crappie Magnet, and I think of a company that believes in scent so much, and it's Crappie Magnet.
Yeah.
You guys have to believe into it.
We totally believe in it, and I think you're alluding to the amount of products that we come out with that tailor to that. And I was thinking that as we were preparing to come in here about how many of our products in that lineup we've designed specifically to accommodate the scent. So we make a product called Slab Bites, very similar to a lot of other brands that are out there on the market. And what we decided to do was, hey, let's take this one step further and, develop jigs around that. Blake Phillips, the mastermind behind the eye-hole jig, had come up with the idea. He was out, it's an awesome story. Blake was out fishing with his wife in a tournament, and she's putting scent on, crappie nibbles or whatever the brand was, and could not get them to hold on the hook. And then, she says, that'd be nice if we had some way, that they could hold on the hook. And
he was long lining.
Yeah, long lining, that's right. And Blake, being like most of us husbands are, when the wife says, hey, I need something, we get busy trying to figure out how to solve the problem. And he came up with the eye-hole jig. And, since then, he's partnered up with Jeff Smith here at Crappie Magnet. And, we've been able to take that product to market and really make some refinement to it and make it really a good product for us. And then the latest release we have in the product is what we call right here. I don't know if you guys can see it from there, but it's the Roo bait that Russ Bailey helped us design. So this Roo has a pouch in it, hence the name Roo for kangaroo pouch, that accommodates one of those slab bites. So yes, we wholeheartedly believe that scent makes a difference. We see enough anglers out there that do believe that as well, that we're able to sell a lot of these products. So really cool.
The Roo, and there's so many different products that are tailored, but the eye hole, I wish I would have come up with the eye hole.
No doubt.
mean, that was just a no-brainer because it's so simple. And one thing I kind of like about it too is it gives you that a different contrast. And I'm not one, if I was using a chartreuse jig head, I would have to use a pink or a orange or a black even.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all got 5 color different slab bites?
We just came out, I think, our 6. So we've got orange, white, chartreuse. We're now black. We've got the silver fleck, and we've got white. So yeah, our 6th one. So
all you need is orange. I mean, everything else better.
hey, not according to all these people that just try to convince us to make black. So we've got,
I think all you need is orange.
Yeah. But it's, like you said, having that product out there is just really something. I think that what's really cool about it is we don't care what scent you use, what bait enhancer. Of course, we sell slab bites. We like for people to buy them, but ultimately this works with any kind of product you got. Even the Bobby Garland, the Slab Jam, it'd be easy for you to squirt some of that right in the eye-hole jig and use that.
There's some days that the bite gets so tough, I would put Slab Jam on there. I'd put some crappie, and we've all been there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, back before Live Scope and back before, I think they had crappie nibbles in the Slab Jam.
Yeah.
And like tube jigs, we'd be squirting this on the tentacles of the tubes and moving it around. And, because back in those days, you just, at least for us in Truman Lake, we'd vertical jig and, shake it. Yep. So we figured this Slab Jam would slowly trickle off and attract the fish and stuff like that. And then really at Truman, before forward-facing sonar, you didn't leave the house without orange jig heads,
like it,
June bug baits, and a crappie nibble. And you always had we always had bottles of crappie nipples open on the floorboard.
Yeah.
And we went through about a whole can in a day fishing.
Kind of drying out so they stay on there just a little bit.
You'd have to maybe sprinkle some water in there to keep them from drying out.
You spread them out and let them
Yep.
get sun dried a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
I've done it all.
Yeah, and we've come such a long ways in that, with that slab bite. That was part of some of the issues that we were seeing out there on the market, and again, we like all those brands. I've used them. Bobby Garland made the slab jam before anyone else came out with it. We used that years ago, and I can think of Berkeley crappie nibbles. I mean, for probably 30 years of my fishing was using those. And just like we're talking about, one of the biggest problems was you get them on there, they get wet, get soft, come off the hook. We'd dry them out. They get a little crustiness to them. You can stick a hook in them, and they stayed on them a little better. Everybody knew those secrets, but now we try to design the products that don't do that, the ones that fresh out of the jar you can put on, they stay on better. One of the really cool things about the slab bite is these float. So there's a couple of cool things about that floating is.
Why would you make it float?
Two of the main reasons. Well, and I don't know that the design of this was specifically,
right.
Intentional. It may have just been, what they put in it made it do that. But the unintentional thing that came about is now you can see if you lose one of these, you're down fishing, you see it float up to the top, I've got to put another one on. The other thing that's great about it that we never anticipated was that it slows the fall of that bait down.
Right.
So not so much with a 3/16 ounce, quarter ounce, something like that, not making a difference. But now we sell an eye-hole jig in 1/64 ounce. You can cram one of these in 1/64 ounce, and I guarantee you it's going to make it fall much
It's about
slower.
like a bobber up there.
It's like a bobber, yeah. So really, really cool thing. And, it's just opened up an area to us that we never thought about, all the creativity behind, hey, what can we do with this now? It's pretty cool. So
I think it goes back to listening to anglers and giving them choices out there. And we've talked about 3 different product lines here that all of them, each of us have confidence in all 3 of them to say. Yeah. I know even the Easy Drift, man, that's the toughest ball I've ever tried on thing. You can catch a bunch of fish off with that joker on there.
Yeah, and like I said, the owner, he created the pin, first, so he was designing it for the 2 different brands that was out there, and then he decided, got a lot of feedback and was like, well, can you design something that's not going to fall off or dissolve? And so he come up with these reaction bait balls, and the good thing about them, since they are infused plastic, is you can cut them and do whatever you want with them to meet your needs. So, if you want to stick it on the front of a piece of plastic to change the color of the head of the plastic or something like that, or, if you're using, these are like the size of a crappie nibble. So if you're using a 64th ounce, you can cut a little piece off and tip it with it, so it matches the bait size and everything like that. And then plus, it's reusable. If a fish gets it off the hook and you see it floating, or if it drops it on the deck, you can pick it back up and hook it back again. And that's what the 2 that was floating in my live well, I grabbed them out and stuck them back in my bait pen and ready to use again.
Those were proven winners, I guess.
Yeah.
As far as those 2 balls.
Yeah,
they were proven.
It's kind of like kind of like your favorite jig. That you're not going to take it off until it doesn't work.
You're like, man, those guys right there will hunt.
That old crusty minnow that's still barely kicking. You caught 3 fish with it. Yeah.
He's going back on the hook one more time.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I definitely appreciate your time here. And this is a thing that, if you're having a bad day, definitely try it. Can't hurt nothing. Yeah. That's how I look at scent. Yep. Terrific days, you might not need it. It might not be necessary. But on those tougher days, you might come home with 3 fish with not using scent, but you might come home with 30 if you were using scent.
That's right.
So
I've thought of something, Brad, to finish off with is you know, sometimes you get stuff on your hands. We don't recognize this as fishermen. And you may be at the gas station, you may be anywhere, and, you know, get a hold of something and you're leaving that scent on that lure. Sometimes I look at it as just maybe a cover scent, like when you're deer hunting and you're trying to cover up that human odor. Maybe you put this stuff on and it's able to cover up some kind of stuff you got on your hands. I once heard it said that that fish can smell gasoline from yards away. So if you've got, you know, gas residue, petroleum residue somehow on your hands, whether it be oil from putting oil in your boat that morning or gas, they can smell that from long distances. And I think sometimes that scent may actually act as a cover scent as much as anything. So
where can you find the Easy Drift stuff?
EasyDriftTrollingSystems.com. Obviously, Facebook, Easy Drift, same thing. They got the website linked on it. But
where can folks find you, Frank?
They can find me at Facebook, Frank Haidusek. Just look for Frank the Tank because I am a junior, so it might pop up with my dad's profile. But
he'd be like, "What are all these guys?"
He gets it a lot, and then I've gotten a lot of his high school buddies from Raytown back in the '70s. So,
Kris, where can folks find you at?
If they want to find these products, wonderful products, it's at CrappieMagnet.com or TroutMagnet.com. Right here at Grizzly Jig, you know, it's a great place to come get all of our full lineup of stuff. And if you're looking for me, you can find me as Kris Mann. That's KrisMann on Facebook, or Kris Mann Fishing on Instagram.
Well, guys, I appreciate it. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn your notifications on, hit the like button. Till next time, you got Brad Chappell here.
So long.
So long. Frank.
See you guys.
Holla.
About a mile from Big Muddy River, a place I'll always remember. Cabin on the lake and a fishing pole. Forever here I'll rest my soul. I can feel my way.